Good morning again, everybody. It's great to have you here. I realize that every time that you are here, you've made a choice to be here. And that's why I thank you all the time for choosing to make church a part of your life, choosing to be concerned and want God in your life. And so I just thank you for being here. I want to welcome everybody who's watching online. It's great to have you join us as well. Now, as we start this new series, I gotta start with a story, and I really want to ask your participation here a little bit. How many of you, and raise your hands, are really kind of a do-it-yourselfer? Something needs to be done. You kind of like read a book, or you look at quite a few of you that you want to do it yourself before you call somebody or a repairman or whatever. Okay, good. That's good. Many of us. And you know, I am not like that anymore, but I used to be. I learned that every time I do something, it never turns out as good as a professional, so I stopped doing that. But I used to be a lot of do-it-yourselfer stuff, and especially with building houses. I grew up, my dad was a contractor. He did plaster and stucco and then went into sheetrocking. And so I kind of grew up around construction sites and around that stuff. So over several houses that I've built over the years, you know, and moved and did that, I learned to do some things. Well, the last house that we built, I was going to do the roof on it, and it's kind of a steep roof. It's steep and it's kind of high. Well, the framer had a pettibone there, and the pettibone looks like this. The framer, the guy who framed it, had one of these machines there. That's how they lifted up the trusses and did all that stuff. So he said to me, he said, Kevin, if you're going to be roofing it, why don't I leave my pettibone here, and so you can use it to put the shingles on the roof and do all that. I thought, that's awesome, because this arm on this thing, this extends in and out, and this raises up. So you put the stuff on there, you raise it up on the roof. It was just awesome. Well, in the backyard of the house that we live in now, it was kind of sloped to a swampy, marshy area, and it was kind of dry, so I didn't really realize how much water is in there in the spring, and it's quite a bit. But as I was driving this thing, trying to move it from one side of the house to the other, I backed up a little too far, and one of the back wheels kind of started spinning. And so I couldn't move it forward. It would just spin. Now, this is a four-wheel drive with big tires on it. And so it was pretty soft. And so they're spinning. So I couldn't go forward because now all four tires were spinning. So as I was driving it, I thought I would try to go forward, just it seemed like I was getting stuck. How do you like the sound effects? So I thought I was getting stuck or not getting anywhere, but it would back up. So I thought, well, I'll just back up a little bit so I can get a run. And when I'd back up, it would spin. I couldn't go forward, but I could back up some more. And I thought, well, I'll just back up. Now, you're listening to me thinking, that's stupid. Right? I mean, like, why would you keep backing up? You would have too if you'd have been there. Right? Just know it. Because it will move in one direction. So you move it, right? And by the time I was done, I had this thing buried. I mean, you couldn't see the back tires at all. It wasn't in water. It was in mud. It was just absolutely buried. A neighbor came over, and we tried tying railroad ties on here like paddles, and it was a mess. So I'm trying. I spent more time trying to get it unstuck than I did actually using it. Until finally I had to call Rick Keller. He goes to church here. He's got this big track hole that he had to come out and actually pull this thing, literally dig it out of the swamp. I had it that stuck. And here's the thing about what happened to me. It happens so often in our life. So often in our life, we find a little issue or a little problem in our life, and instead of going forward, we back up. Because it seems easier to back up. But only then we realize as we back up that we're more stuck than we were before. I know for me, when a long time ago, I used to be a smoker. And for some of you, quitting smoking was easy for you. For others, it's a struggle. And some of you, you know what, you never were able to do that yet. You're still smoking, and you probably wish you weren't. And that's kind of where I was during this time that I was smoking. It was so difficult to quit that I found that every time that I tried to quit smoking, I would just back up. Because if I would go for 2 days without a cigarette, when I went back to I'd smoke more than before. And if I ever made it a month without smoking, when I went back, I was even more stuck than I was before. And this is how I personally felt. I felt stuck. I felt like Other people can be so strong. Other people seem to be able to do this. And I tried, and I couldn't quit. I just couldn't get past it. And if I didn't have a cigarette, I'd think about it all the time. And it was such a difficulty that I actually got to a point where I just resolved I will always be a smoker. I will always smoke. I can't get over this. You know what? It's got me defeated. I'm too weak. I can't. So I felt just condemned to smoking, that I will be a smoker the rest of my life. And some of you probably feel the same way. You probably feel just like that. Boy, you sure wish it was. For some of you that you just quit, you just got great willpower. You look at people like me and say, well, if you really wanted to, you'd just do it. No, I did really want to. And it was something in my life that I couldn't overcome. And until God helped me later and He literally delivered me, that's a different story. But that whole idea of just feeling so trapped and so stuck. I love that there's a commercial on the radio right now about smoking. And I love how this guy explains it. He said, he's a smoker. And on the radio commercial, he says, it's so embarrassing to have cigarette smoke on me. He said, I feel so embarrassed. I feel so alone when I go outside to have a cigarette and all my friends are inside because they don't smoke. I feel so embarrassed that I don't take care of my health, or I feel like I'm hurting myself. And he said, all of these reasons make it harder to smoke, but none of them make it easier to quit. And I thought, wow, what a great way to put it. It doesn't make it any easier. And sometimes when we're stuck in our life, it seems like there's no way forward. The only movement we have is to go backwards. And we get even more stuck. I had a guy just a couple days ago came and talked to me. And he was really burdened. His particular thing was he felt so down, and his wife was very discouraged with him. And he had lost 4 jobs in the last 6 weeks, or 6 months. He had been let go from 4 jobs in the last 6 months. And as he's telling me about this, he said, I feel so defeated. I just want to give up. As a matter of fact, he said, I'm here talking to you because I don't want to go back to drugs, and I don't want to start drinking. And that's all I think about doing because I feel like such a failure. I feel so stuck. I try hard. I get these jobs. I can get jobs easy, but for some reason they let me go. And he was just in this spot where he didn't know what to do, but he felt like just quitting. He felt like, I will always be like this. It will never change. Have you been there? Some of you are there right now. Right now you think, it'll never change. I just have to live like this. I feel so stuck. I feel stuck in my marriage. I feel stuck. You know, I don't know what to do. I'm so unhappy. My needs aren't being met. There's difficulties. But I don't know how to go forward. It's easier to just go backwards. And you've been doing this for months or years. And you feel stuck. And you don't know what to do. You feel like, I wish I could do something about it. I should say something about it. I should take some action. But you don't, because the fear on this side is, but what happened? It might get worse. I might lose my marriage. What about the kids? So there you live in the middle, stuck. I think so many times in maybe your career or in our working situations, we feel the very same way. That maybe we're feeling mistreated at work. Maybe we're feeling taken advantage of. Maybe our coworkers, aren't treating us right. Maybe we feel like we've been passed over for a promotion, and you just feel so stuck. Like, I don't know what to do, because if I try to say something, if I try to do something, I don't know what. I could lose my job. People might look at me different. It might go the wrong way. And so therefore, it's easier just to kind of back up a little bit. I remember earlier, when I was younger, I had a job one time that I felt so stuck in this job that I was in my mid-20s, and I would literally cry. I mean, I'm a grown man. I would cry. I felt so stuck. This job was so miserable, but I was married and I had kids, and I felt like, I don't have a degree in something. I can go into a different area of life. I'm getting paid so much here that I can't find another job, and I just felt so incredibly stuck. And maybe that's where you are right now. I think some of our students, if you're a student in school, there's so many times you can feel just totally defeated. Maybe it's just trying to find a boyfriend or a girlfriend, or maybe it's just trying to have friends. And you try, or you wear the right clothes, but people will make fun of you, or you had a friend and now you don't, and somehow you're not accepted. And you've been doing this since junior high, and you just feel like, I'm just stuck. I'm just condemned to this. I will never, I don't know what to do, and I just feel like my life will never change. Nothing's ever different. Maybe it's with sports. That, I've went out for this, and I never made A squad. I never made varsity. I'm struggling, and you feel inside, I am doomed to this the rest of my life. I am so stuck in my life. I think all of us at times or another in our life that we've all felt this way. But here's the burden that I have right now is you're living that way now, some of you. You're living that way now, and you've lived there for years. And you're just feeling stuck. As a matter of fact, so many of you have probably given up. You've given up. I will live this way. Bad relationships, whatever. I want you to know something, that it's really normal. As a matter of fact, all of us feel stuck from time to time. We do. It's part of life. Listen to this. No one is so spiritual that they never feel stuck in their life. No one is so spiritual that everything goes well in their life and everything's just always perfect and people around them and relationships are great. No one's at that point. As a matter of fact, we see even the apostles. They had times in their life, some of the prophets in the Old Testament, they had times in their life that they just felt so condemned and so stuck, and things would never get different and they would never change, and this just is the way it had to be. And they felt the very same way. Matter of fact, the Apostle Paul gives us a couple of glimpses in the Bible to some of his internal emotions, some of the things that he felt. And it's probably similar to how you and I have felt from time to time. He says this. He says, we do not want you to be uninformed. I want to tell you what I go through and he says, we don't want you to be uninformed, brothers and sisters, about the troubles that we experienced in the province of Asia. We were under great pressure, far beyond our ability to endure, so that we despaired of life itself. Ever been there? You ever feel like that? Indeed, we felt that we had received the sentence of death. Have you ever been there? Have you been in a place, and some of you might be there right now, where you're just feeling like, my life will never change. I feel like I will never get beyond this. I feel like, you know what, it's just things are unfair. I'm never going to be free. I'm never going to be happy. And sometimes it's so much, if you feel so stuck in a career or a marriage or good relationship, that you just feel like there's no hope. There's absolutely no hope. He goes on in a different place, and he tells us about some different struggles that he had. He says, for when we came into Macedonia, we had no rest, but we were harassed at every turn, conflicts on the outside, fears on the inside. The apostle, the great apostle, filled with the Spirit of God, he says, there's times in my life that I have felt so much fear on the inside. I just felt so much fear on the inside that it wore me out. It was just tiring. There's so many conflicts and there's so many issues and struggles in my life. And I feel like there's no hope. I'm tired of wrestling. I'm tired of weighing it. I'm tired of going over it and over it in my mind. Have you ever felt that way? And the fear on the inside is so great, you don't know what to do. Fear grips you from taking action in your life because you don't know the results of, if I do something about this, what will happen? And there's this fear on the inside. And when we experience these things, how we react to them is so interesting. It's almost like me driving that Pettibone. Because, ask yourself, how do you respond? I mean, how do you personally react when there's a conflict in a relationship? When your marriage and you're not happy and it's very difficult, how do you respond at work to your boss or to employees that you have? You're not happy, but you're afraid to really do anything about it. And how do you respond? Do you respond this way? And I'll tell you what, this is a weakness in my area, in my life. That's why I'm sharing this with you, because it is a struggle in my life. And I just want to be encouraged. I don't want to live like this, because I know it's so easy to avoid. I'm an avoider. When there's conflicts and there's troubles, I just want to avoid it. I just want to think everything's fine, and, well, I'll try not to think about it, or I'll just do the best I can with this, and I avoid conflict. But here's the problem with avoiding. You avoid on the outside, but you don't on the inside. Because on the inside, I lay in bed at night going over and over conversations in my head with, I just wish I could tell this person this, or I sometimes go over, maybe you do too, I go over full conversations in my head. And then the next day, I don't say anything, but I carry the weight of this problem. And maybe that's what you do. Maybe you avoid it. Or maybe another way is you lash out and you push against it. Maybe when you have issues and stuff, you push against and you cause fights and you argue and you do these things. And you know what's funny about those two is it's just backing up into the swamp. It just makes us more stuck in our lives. So is there any hope? I mean, how do we get out of this? And some of you, I mean, this is such a serious matter. Some of you have been working at a job for years, and you feel this exact feeling every day. There's a weight on you about things that you just feel stuck. You can't do nothing. Some of you have been in a marriage for years and years, and seriously, you don't know what to do, and you feel so stuck. But I want you to know there is an answer. As a matter of fact, I want you all to know, and I'm talking to myself, that Jesus Christ came for us to be free. God, our Creator who loves us, looks at every one of us and says, you don't need to feel stuck. You don't need to be in that bad behavior, that addiction, that anger, that relationship the way it is. You don't need to be carrying this secret weight in your life. And all of the same things happening all the time, that you can be free of that. Now, let me tell you, for every one of us, we can be free of these things and we can live a free life. And that's what this series is all about. And these are the three things that we are going to talk about. If you and I can apply these three things to our lives, we will be set free. You won't have to live like you're stuck in any situation again. And it's these three things. It takes courage, takes action, and it takes faith. Now, these three things are not easy. None of these three things are easy. But for you and I, if you want to be unstuck in your life, if you and I can apply these three things to our life, I will guarantee you it will bring freedom. It will bring freedom in our life. And today I just want to spend the rest of our time talking about courage. It takes courage. What we have to do in these areas of our life that we don't know what to do, and we feel like we can't move forward, we can't move back, we can't do anything about it, that you and I need to have courage to face the situation. Face it. Far too long we've just ignored it. Far too long we've blamed other people. And we need to face it, whether it's in our own life with addictions or bad habits or anger or whatever it is in our life. We need to have courage to stop blaming other people and look in the mirror and have courage to really look at ourselves and say, I am the issue. What is in me that needs to change? We need to have courage to really take an honest look at ourselves and the flaws that we have inside. It takes incredible courage to face other people, to face them, and to be very clear and direct, to say something about the situations that we're in, to say something to our spouse or to our boss or to our coworker, to actually say something. Not mean, not derogatory, not putting down, not fighting, but just to be assertive and address it. It takes incredible courage to do that. As a matter of fact, the reason most of us don't do it is because of fear. Think about it. You're so afraid. If I bring this up, she'll leave. If I bring this up, he'll go ballistic. If I bring this up, he'll blame me. Fear keeps us stuck. We need courage to face situations. Most of them are relationships. We need courage to face those. And it's not easy. It's the reason we don't. If it was easy, we would do it. It is not easy. I love how the Apostle Paul addresses a church that he had started. He loves them. He cares about them. And there were some issues. How do you bring up issues with people you love? How do you bring up an issue with somebody that's a great friend? Because you fear that I will offend them or I will hurt them. The Apostle Paul had the same fears, but he addressed them. And here's how he did it. He did it in a letter, and he sent a letter to that church. And he says this, even if I caused you sorrow by my letter, I do not regret it. Though I did regret it, I see that my letter hurt you, but only for a little while. Here we have the Apostle Paul himself. What should I do? I will write them a letter. But I don't want to hurt them. Oh, maybe I'll just let it, maybe I'll just back up, maybe I'll avoid it. But if I do, the whole time it'll be in my mind. I should have said something. I should have did something. I should have pointed out, oh, it's not a big enough deal to point out. Oh, yeah, I won't point it out because, they'll get over it. It's not that big a deal. Oh, but then maybe I should. That wrestling that we do. The Apostle Paul did the same wrestling. He said, should I really tell them? Should I be that blunt with them? Should I be that direct with them and tell them? And he says, no, I'm going to regret it if I do and I don't. And he did it. He had the courage to face the problem and to be direct with the problem. And afterwards, reflecting on it, he said, it wasn't easy. It was so hard. I feel so bad that I hurt you. Nobody wants to hurt other people. Nobody wants to cause pain in somebody's life. He didn't either. He said, I know that my letter hurt you, but I don't regret it. I'm glad I sent it to you. Because he goes on afterwards, and he says this, yet now I am happy. Boy, it wasn't easy. It took courage. I had to watch you struggle. I had to watch you be hurt by what I said. But now I'm so happy, not because you were made sorry, no, but because your sorrow led you to repentance. There brought change in the situation. For you became sorrowful as God intended, and so were not harmed in any way by us. What the apostle discovered is this, as he penned that letter of bringing this up and being forward, having the courage to speak up and to direct and to face an issue. It was painful. It brought sorrow. Could have destroyed the relationship. But God used it to cause change in somebody's life. Actually brought correction in their life and fixed and healed the situation. Now, I'm not suggesting that when you and I have courage to face some of our issues, that everything's going to work out great. I'm not suggesting that. As a matter of fact, I don't know how it will go if you are direct with your coworkers, or direct with your boss, or direct with your spouse, or direct with your brother or sister or family members. I don't know if you're direct with your adult children. I don't know what will happen. I have no idea. But I do know this. I know what won't happen if you don't. What won't happen is you will never be free. You will live with this weight on your life. You will stay awake at night wishing and thinking. You will go over in your head how you were mistreated, how you wish you would have said something, and you will go over those things in your mind. You will live, every time you see them in a relationship, you will live with this burden and this weight in your life. I have, you guys, most of you know I ride a motorcycle. I've ridden one for most of my life, ever since I was 18. And I bought this coat as my riding jacket 30 years ago. And it is heavy. Matter of fact, it is so heavy. Before service, I had some people just hold it. Said, just feel this, man. It's just heavy. It feels like it's 25 pounds. I would have had Billy try it, but I didn't think he could hold it. I had to get that in there. Anyway, it's so heavy, it gives me a sense of security when I'm riding, even though it wouldn't protect my head. I know my mom's here. Wear a helmet. This coat is awesome. It's insulated inside. It's heavy, heavy, thick leather. Keeps the wind out. I can ride a bike all day with it. Even though it's heavy and I feel that on my body. After all day of riding, you can't get tired from the road and all that stuff. After a while, you kind of get used to it. When I'm riding all day, I don't think about it anymore. And I kind of go through the whole day with this huge coat on. And I don't realize it really until I get to a hotel or the end of the day and I take it off. And when I take this coat off, I'm telling you, man, and I just set it down, it's like, wow, I feel like I'm on my tiptoes. Man, seriously, I almost feel like I'm going to float. I know I'm too heavy to float, but, I just feel like I'm going to float. And that's the same thing it is when you and I address the important, serious things in our life. Whether we address ourselves and look in the mirror, have the courage to say, it's me. It's me. I got to stop blaming other people. It's me. I have to change. It's me that's causing this. Or if we have to have the courage to face other people in our life. When we do, no matter how it turns out, if you get fired from your job or you get a promotion, if you heal a great relationship and your marriage becomes awesome, or you get a divorce, I know this. You will feel so free. You will feel unstuck when you confront the issues in life that need to be confronted. And I'm going to pray for all of us today for courage. Because you know what? It's not easy. It's so hard. Some of you right now, I know that some of you know you have to do this. And by me suggesting it today, makes your heart beat faster and kind of sweat. You are so full of fear. You know you have to address the situation, but you're so full of fear. I want to pray for courage for you. For courage. Because you will experience freedom if you can get past the fear. Address what needs to be addressed. And take it from there. Let's pray. Father, I don't know about everybody, but I know what it's like to feel the anguish, which is resentment sometimes, even turns into anger when we just hold things in. We just hold things in, then we feel so stuck. We don't know what to do. We just have to live like this the rest of our lives. I just have to deal with this. Father, it is not your will that we are ever burdened like that. You want our heart and our soul to be free. And the only way to be free is to face things and to face people and to face ourselves in the difficult areas of life. It is so scary. There are some here right now that are so scared that they are going to have to face somebody or something. I pray that you would give them courage. I pray that right now you would just fill their hearts with courage. that you are with them, that you want them to be free. There's strength in each one of us that need to really face and be honest about things and situations in our life. Thank you, Father, for being with us and for caring. In Jesus' name, amen.